What's going on, my planting people? I'm Lithius, this is Roots Ready, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you my entire Hoya collection. I've done this video a couple of times in the past, and what I love to do is to go back and watch each one and see how my plants have developed. And then right at the end we're going to count it down to my top 3 favorite Hoyas. Let's get into it. So the first Hoya we're going to look at is by far my largest Hoya in my collection, and it's none other than this. This is my Hoya Krinkle 8. A beast of a plant. It's absolutely huge. I did cheat a little bit with this plant, and I'll tell you why. It's because unlike pretty much all of my other Hoyas, this is the only one that I bought that was quite well matured when I got it, so it was quite a big plant already, and I haven't really had to do much apart from just keeping the plant alive and happy. And alive and happy it is. I must say this is probably one of the easier Hoya to care for. I've had no issues with this plant at all, apart from it being quite thirsty, but even then I'm not in a mad rush to water this plant. I want to say that I got this plant about 2 or 3 years ago from an online retailer, and I wasn't sure how big it was going to be, but as I said, I was pleasantly surprised with the size. It actually came in this hanging pot, and I haven't repotted this plant once. I haven't even thought about doing it. It probably would be a good idea to do that, but then it's so big, it's like, where does it go? This plant is one of the ones that is a persistent bloomer. This plant every single spring and summer just bursts into blooms. Check out that one. That is a beautiful one. It has had 2 others in the last week or so that have now sort of dried and fallen off, but there's another one just hidden behind that leaf. Oh, there's one down here as well. So yeah, as you can see, there's always a bloom on this plant. This is one of the ones that I always say that I'm not a fan of the smell of the blooms. When it comes out with quite a soily, a hint of manure kind of aroma to it, and I'm not the biggest fan. Although the blooms are quite pretty, I do like how they come out like this little baseball look to them, that nice circular full fist of blooms, which is really quite nice to see. In terms of the care for this plant, honestly, I don't think about it too much. I have this plant on the same watering schedule as I have all of my other plants. So I come in once a week and I water this plant. And I must say, this is not, the soil in here is all right, but it doesn't hold on to the most water. In fact, when I pour it on, you can tell that it's a little bit hydrophobic. So the water kind of sits on the top before it goes down. But I do try to let it kind of soak in. So I'll leave a little bit of water in the saucer just on the bottom here and let the plant reabsorb that back up. I think what this plant needs is probably a good soak in some water. Let it really absorb that at least once. But even with that sort of but even with the soil that doesn't want to hold on to much water, the plant doesn't give me any headaches at all. It's very easy to tell when it needs water because the leaves go a bit soft. I haven't done my watering for the week yet, so all of these plants are in need of some water, so they're all a little bit thirsty. But this one will definitely let you know when it's thirsty, and as soon as you sort of see that, give it a good soak and it'll be okay. I fertilize once a week in the current season. We're approaching summer. We might even be in summer, I'm not too sure. So I just make sure that I do that, especially when the plant is blooming and growing like this. It needs as much help as it can get. So this is the first plant I wanted to talk about, the Hoya Krinkle 8. Another Hoya that is in bloom at the moment, and for the first time for me actually since I've had this plant in my care, is this one right here. This is my Hoya Bella. I got this as a very small cut-in from a good planty friend, and look at it now. It's actually started to bloom. Look at that. We've got 1, 2, can you see that? 2, 3, 4, 5 blooms on what is such a tiny plant. Usually when I see these plants in people's collections, it's the size of the Krinkle 8 behind me or bigger. This is like a prolific grower. It grows absolutely massive, and you have these like huge lion mane Hoya Bella, and it just looks amazing. And they are known for being quite persistent bloomers as well. So I'm glad to see that this one is following in that trend, and it is coming in nicely. I can't wait for this thing to be that massive bloomer, because at the moment it looks a bit sparse here, right? Look at it. It needs a bit more a bit more growth. You can see that we have some new shoots coming in just here. A lot of these are new shoots. This was a very small cutting, as I said, and even at this very, very small stage, I can already see that this plant just wants to grow. What I might do actually is once these blooms have fallen off, I may just root out some other cuttings, take a propagation of this and stick it back in this pot just so it can be a lot more bushy. And because at the moment it's just that one stem in there, and if anything goes wrong, that's the whole plant gone. So to protect the plant and for future proofing, I may just go in and make some adjustments to that and just cut and prop. Should be quite easy. I think it's one of the easier Hoyas to propagate. That's just me saying that. I'm not too sure because I haven't actually done it for myself, but I will give it a go and I'll let you know how we get on. In terms of the care for this one, is going to be quite similar to the Hoya Krinkle 8. This is in a much smaller pot, but I think the soil in here is a lot better. It's a lot more airy, which means that it doesn't get as hydrophobic as the soil in there. To be fair, I haven't even changed this from the time I got the plant, so it's in the same nursery soil. Although this one is soil that I made and the plant seems to really, really enjoy that. Can't see any roots at the bottom here. Actually, I can see like a little one, a very, very tiny one. You'll struggle to see it on the camera, but that is a good sign. I water this plant once a week, and again, I have this on my weekly fertilizer schedule at the moment. I do water it, and I let a little bit of water sit in the container that this sits in. You can see where that white line is. That's just where the water sort of sits. So not much at all, because I don't want these plants to get any root rot at all. I just want it to keep growing and to keep adding to my collection. So this is the second plant on the list, the Hoya Bella, an absolute staple in the Hoya game. Another really, really common Hoya is this one right here. This is the Hoya Pubicalyx. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. This plant, again, I think I got this at a plant swap event, and it was a bit of a slower grower at first. So I've had this maybe a year or two. Is it 2 years already? It might be. But I've had it for a little while, and it was a very small cutting. And as you can see, the plant attempted to grow here, and then it died off. And I was like, okay, maybe this plant won't make it. And then it started again. It grew a whole new vine, and that vine has now turned into this. And it took me a little while to detangle this because it grew right up the side of this grow shelf right here, and I had to sort of just pull it out. So getting this plant back is going to be a bit of a headache, but for you guys, I'll do it. Yes, the Pubicalyx, as I said, again, it's a very common Hoya, and I guess the reason is because of this, because look, this is how resilient the plant is. It died back and it just started going again, and that's exactly what I want in my collection. I need plants that are almost bulletproof, and this one seems to be it. Now that the plant has decided to take off, it's growing rapidly, like super quickly, putting out new leaves all of the time. Have a look at that. So you see we've got some leaves there, we got some more all up the stem here. I'm being very careful, because when the leaves are this young, you just knock it, you breathe too hard, and the leaf will fall off. So I'm going to be very careful with this. It's a really interesting plant. I love the light splashing on this. I wish I had the splash variety, because that one is super silvery, and I'm a sucker for silvery Hoyas. But you know what, this one will do. Again, it's in some really good chunky soil mix, so it's enjoying its life. That's a really good tip for you guys. Get your Hoyas in a nice chunky, almost an orchid like mix, and they will love you for it, and they will keep on growing just like that. So that's my main tip for you. The Pubicalyx is an amazing plant. I love the long slender leaves on it. It's really cool, really nice. And I think I may have to try to find a way to get this to trellis up, something that's not on the side of my grow shelves over here. So wish me luck as I try to figure that out. We'll see. So the Pubicalyx, what a lovely plant. This is a super interesting Hoya. Look how just weird and wonderful these leaves are. It's not a typical leaf shape that you find. So getting this one in my collection was a real steal. I was really happy to get this in. This is the Hoya Rotundifolia. I hope I said that right. It's a gorgeous sort of round leaf shape. It's really cute. I really like this plant. I must say I got this plant around the same time as the Hoya Bella and the Pubicalyx, but this one is definitely on the slower side look at that. I've only had a couple of leaves in since I've started growing this plant, and it's just not doing that well. And I think part of that might be the fact that it's not in as good of a soil as the other plants, which are in that very gritty, airy mix. This one is in a primarily moss. It's in primarily sphagnum moss. So that's something I may have to look at going forward, and that might produce some more growth, which I'm all for, because this is a really, really nice plant. Another thing I really like about this plant that the others that I've shown so far, what they don't have is a really compact growth pattern. Look how compact that is. If this plant keeps this pattern and stays really tight, it will be a nice bushy plant that doesn't take up too much space, because my only beef with Hoya is that they like to grow. Like they won't just grow, but they'll spread out in every single direction that they can get, and they will just keep on going, and they want to climb and climb and climb. But if something like this could stay nice and compact, that would be right up my street. I would say this is probably one of the more difficult Hoya to care for, and that's based on the fact that it just hasn't grown much, really. You can see where it's like evidence of where it started before, and it's dried up again over here. So that's twice. I think there was even another Rotundifolia in this pot, and it's actually died. So this is the only one left. So I do find that this one is probably the most tricky Hoya to grow. I really do want to make sure that this plant does really well for me, and it can continue to grow, because yeah, it's just so different to every other plant. There's only probably one other plant that looks remotely similar to this in terms of the Hoyas, which says a lot, right? So it's really uncommon, and that's one of the things that I really like. Another thing I like about this plant is just the texture. It's got this furry, fuzzy sort of back to it. It's really, really nice, really interesting plant to sort of touch and have in your collection. In terms of the care, I probably haven't got this down. I don't want to be the one to tell you to do something that I haven't quite nailed, but what I do, as with all of my other Hoyas, is have this on a weekly schedule, and that's been all right. It's kept the plant alive for me. But if you have a better care guide for this plant, do let me know in the comments so we can spread that and help everyone to care for their Rotundifolia. So this is it, the Rotundifolia. Just a really gorgeous, very interesting Hoya. This right here is my longest Hoya. This is the Hoya Linearis. Look at how long that is. Let me get it up for you. It just keeps on going and going and going. Like, it's quite long. There's quite a lot to it, and all of that comes from a very, very tiny pot that only today I noticed is severely underwater. Look at this, the gap between the pot and the soil. This thing is in dire need of a repot, and I think I'll do that today. I believe I have some soil. No, I've got some soil that I can put this in, so hopefully it'll be all right. So I will put this in something else today, because this thing is struggling. This was a lot more bushy. I got this plant as maybe just a couple of leaves cut in, and I was able to sort of prop it, put it back in, prop it, put it back in, until I had something that resembled a really bushy plant. But I guess I've lost quite a lot of the cuttings that were in here, because they've dried up and they've died. So I need to sort that out. But despite that, the plant is doing really, really well. So a really tough plant, I must admit, despite having gone through so much struggle. I do, when I water this plant, try to water it and leave a bit of water in here, because it sits all the way up here. I struggle to sort of see inside of the pot, so I just sort of estimate how much water I need to put. But because the water is sitting in a terracotta pot, it evaporates out, so the soil probably doesn't have enough time to really soak in all of that nutrients and water that I'm providing this plant with on a weekly basis. I did notice today, however, somewhere that I think, oh, I thought it was a peduncle that was coming in. It's actually just some more leaves coming in, so that's a shame. I have seen online what these leaves, what the flowers look like when they come in, and they're really cute. They're really quite something, because you have this sort of hair-like texture of a plant, really interesting looking, and it's just dotted with these lovely, I believe they're quite white flowers. I'm hoping that if I repot this thing, which I will do today, that it really takes off and it looks really, really nice. That's the thing with me. If I'm going to get a Hoya, which took me a while to be convinced to get on the Hoya boat, it needs to be something that's unique and looks really, really different. And this is just that. This thing sort of just hides away in the corner there, fills some of the dead space, which is really nice. And another thing I like about this is a cascading Hoya. I don't really see many people growing this Hoya upwards, like on a trellis. I've only ever seen it sort of cascading down, and it does it in such a dramatic way. You just can't be mad at it. The Hoya Linearis. These right here, I've got 3 of them, is my Hoya CV Jennifer. Me and this plant, we've been on a journey. I got this plant as, how did I get it? I think I just got like a cut-in on eBay actually. And I was able to grow this thing. Oh no, I've just broken the leaf. At the risk of breaking any more leaves, I'm just gonna hold one plant in my hand. I got this plant as like a 1-leaf cut-in or something. And I got it just because of the veinage. That was the first thing that I saw. So, oh, this one has some decent veins on the leaves. Let's get it, let's have a go. When I got it, to my surprise, the leaf was massive. It was huge, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know. Apart from the, what's that, Sarawak or something, that dinner plate like Hoya, apart from that Hoya, I hadn't known any others to get leaves this size, so I was pleasantly surprised. That plant grew super, super, super well. It grew massive. I had to trellis it on a stake, and it did amazing until it didn't. I think it was not last winter, the winter before that. Pretty much all of my Hoyas were hard hit, and this was one of them. This thing nearly died. So I decided to cut the plants and take as many cuttings as I could get out of it and try to repot them. Luckily, that worked, and I was able to get, what, 3 plants out of this? Maybe 4. I think I've sold one on now. And they are now doing really, really well. All of the cuttings that I have active growth. Look at that. We've got a lovely leaf coming in here. I'm not going to play around with it too much. This one has just produced a new leaf. You can see the size of it over here. Finally, this one has a new leaf, and I've just knocked off a little baby one that was coming in. So hopefully the plant recovers quite quickly. So this plant, I'm a bit conflicted. Do I say this is an easier plant to care for, or do I say it's one of the more difficult ones? I think it's kind of in the middle, because when this plant is enjoying itself and enjoying its life, it's going to grow rapidly like a weed for you. It's going to look amazing, and the fact that these leaves are this big and it grows that quickly is something that is super, super impressive. However, I don't think it likes change too much, because when I went through that winter, and it wasn't the plant's first winter, it had been through maybe 1 or 2 winters with me at that point. When that happened, it's like the whole plant just sort of, it was like a domino effect. It just started falling down very, very quickly. However, saying that, I was able to rescue them. So it's kind of one of those plants that's, if you have the right environment and you can keep it warm, good lighting all year round, this one you're onto a winner. So much like all of, not much like all of my other Hoya, I water this one once a week. And this one is actually pulled slightly away from an east facing window, so it doesn't get direct light. And that's quite interesting, because I know Hoyas love their bright direct light as much as they can get, or indirect light as people say. But this one seems to be doing okay. And I can even see just here on the base that there's a new growth point that will come in eventually. So something's going right with this plant. They do live upstairs, so I will probably keep this one down here just to add to the collection. This right here is the cutest Hoya in my collection, I must say. I just love how small and delicate these leaves look. I just really, really enjoy it. This is the Hoya Mathilde, a lovely, lovely plant. This plant I have had 0 issues with. 0. I can't quite remember how this plant came into my collection, because I don't know if it was like a gift, like I bought another plant and then someone gifted me that, or if I bought it specifically, but I can't remember. In any case, I got it, I've had it for a little while, and it's grown really, really well for me. Just a consistent grower. No issues at all. This plant, like much of my other Hoyas, it does like to grow and tendril, but this one's one of the easier ones to sort of tame. I just wrap this plant around itself, just like that, and it just does its thing. It just carries on growing. I can't wait to sort of get this thing to get really, really bushy and have like almost like a disco ball of Hoya Mathilde. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm going for. Something like this. So this is my string of heart. You see how it's just completely just dense. This is exactly what I want with this one. and hopefully I'm going to get there quite soon. I say quite soon, but this plant I would say is probably a little bit of a slower grower than I had expected. I thought by this point, I've had this plant for a couple of years now, I thought it'd be super bushy. Although it is a consistent grower, like it's always producing a leaf, it doesn't produce it very quickly, and they take a little while before they grow in and harden off. So I'm hoping that this plant does put its foot on the gas a little bit so that we can really enjoy the fruits of its labor. I think this is a little bit of an underrated plant in my collection because it's tucked away in the back here on the shelf where I don't really get a lot of access to it. I just water it, do its thing once a week, fertilize regularly, you know the deal. It's only when I take the plant out and I look at it, I'm just like, this is quite something, isn't it? Just like the splashing on it is just wonderful, small, delicate leaves. Really a big fan of that. This plant is in like a super airy mix, so I think that contributes to it being a really strong grower. I'm just trying to check on the bottom there to see if we have any roots coming out the bottom. We do not, so I don't believe that this plant is root bound, so it doesn't need to be repotted, because usually when a plant is root bound or repotted, it might struggle to grow a little bit because it can't really get the amount of nutrients that it needs. But this one, it isn't the case. I think it's just a slower grower. If you have a different experience to me, let me know in the comments. I would love to get this plant to a point where it can compete and rival with the string of hearts. I think we have a bit of a way to go, but hopefully we get there sooner rather than later. The Hoya Mathilde. Up next we have this. Can you tell what it is? It's a bit of a hard one to sort of work out, but this is my Hoya Phuwuaensis. This plant for a while was probably my favorite Hoya, and I don't know why. I think it's something to do with, well, it has to be the leaves, but I love the texture of the leaves, but also like the firmness. It's like a proper cardboard leaf. This plant you will struggle to tell when it's thirsty because the leaf is always rigid and tough and hard, but I just like it so much. I think the only thing that stops me from making this plant my top favorite plant, or puts it in the top 3, is the fact that it grows quite sparsely around the side here. You can see here where there's hardly any leaves, and I think that's just from when I trellis the plant, because this one is a grower. This one likes to trellis out, and it will throw those vines out as far as it can go, and then it will start to produce leaves. But then I get to a point where I'm like, I can't let you go into the other shelves because it's just going to be a headache to get any plant in and out. So I'll take it and I'll wrap it around here, and then when I do that, whatever's wrapped around, it just doesn't produce any leaves, and it only produces it at the top. And I think that's probably the name of the game for a lot of Hoya. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this plant grows quite nicely for me. One thing that this plant has started to do in recent years is produce peduncles. And it has loads of them. Look at all of those peduncles, all here, peduncles for days, all down here, along the side, really nice. I don't think I've had a point where they've all produced peduncles at the same time, like they will produce 1 or 2 and then stop, and then another 2 will come in. Unlike the Krinkle 8, that's just like all of them come in at once. It's like, boom, there you go, smell that. This one isn't like that. It takes its time, it takes its precious time, but it's such an elegant plant. It reminds me of, I don't know, it's got like a Victorian age vibe to it for some reason, because it's just like a classic leaf shape with that gentle white splashing on it, or that silvery splashing on it, which I really do enjoy. The Hoya Phuwuaensis. Let's talk about this plant, and I think I need your help on this, because I think the last time I showed this plant, somebody commented, and you know, I really do appreciate every comment. Someone commented and challenged and said, this isn't a Hoya Clemensiorum, which is what I bought this plant as, from what I thought was a reputable seller, and said, nope, this looks a lot like the Finlaysonii longleaf. And I did a bit of research, and I'm conflicted. I'm not sure what plant it is. It looks a lot like the longleaf Finlaysonii. However, it also looks like the Clemensiorum because of the jagged leaves. It's really hard to show you on the camera, but you see how the leaves are really wavy on the side here. That's quite characteristic of a Clemensiorum. However, Clemensoriums, they do have huge leaves, and this one hasn't got as big of a leaf, which is something. So I'm just waiting to see how this plant develops. Now, this plant in the past has grown really, really well for me. I've had this plant grow super, super well, and I've propagated it a couple of times. And I've decided to, I think this was the top cutting, and I've only kept one, and all of the others have been sold on. This plant has really slowed down in its growth. Like, I don't think it grew at all last year. And it's only this year that we have a little bit of growth. If you look down here where my finger is, there's a little shoot coming out here, but the plant has been, it's just been taking its sweet old time. And I'm not sure why, because this plant has proven that it can be quite a rapid grower, but then for whatever reason, something has changed in its, I don't know, maybe it doesn't like where it is, maybe it's not getting enough light or something, I don't know, it's just not growing until now. So something has changed. Maybe it appreciates the very, very warm weather that we're having at the moment. So it's starting to push out growth. But if it's growing, I'm here for it. I hope that it continues to grow. In terms of its care, a lot like the CV Jennifer, started well, went downhill, and it's starting again. So I'm kind of unsure where I should place this in the tough or easy category. But it's doing all right. It's doing all right. I think stay tuned. Hopefully this is its summer and it starts to grow really, really well. And if it does, I'll be back with a full sort of video on this plant and all my tips and care guide for this thing to help you grow yours in your home. And now we come to my top 3 Hoya in my collection, and at number 3, third place, bronze medal, is this one right here. This is my Hoya Villosa. You remember when I spoke about, I'm just gonna gently drop this here. Oh, maybe not actually. I can see some sap, so I'm gonna hold this up just to sort of, yeah, just to give it some strength. Otherwise, this thing is gonna really struggle. Remember when I showed you the rugosum? This is what it reminds me of. This is like its bigger brother. It's got similar leaves, however, at the end there it's a lot more pointy than round. But the base underneath those leaves are super, super fuzzy. It's like feel my jumper kind of fuzzy. It's really, really nice. It's a really, really lovely plant. It's so soft and delicate and wonderful. It is also a super, super fast grower. Look at this thing. This thing is a tendriler. It will find anything that it can find to grow up, and it will do that, because this thing took me a while. It probably took me about 5 minutes to detangle it from everything else over there, from that Scindapsus, because it just wrapped onto it and it didn't want to let go. But the thing is, once this plant starts to tendril, it starts to grow, because it took a while. It grew this very, very long tendril, and as soon as the tendril got to the top of the grow shells over there, it just started to produce leaves, and there's leaves and leaflets all down this tendril. So this thing is growing really, really well. It's one of the easier Hoyas to care for, and one of the only ones. I only have a handful of Hoya growing primarily in a semi-hydro mix, and this is one of them, and it seems to be doing fine. It seems to be doing just fine. So I'll just fill up the reservoir about, not much, maybe about a centimeter or so, with water once a week, and that seems to do it for the plant. And that seems to be working very, very well. Do that with some fertilizer. The plant just keeps on growing, keeps on growing. It's one of the easiest Hoyas to propagate as well. Super, super easy. You put it in water, put it in soil with a little bit of humidity, and the plant will just take off. The Hoya Villosa, an absolutely gorgeous plant. In second place is, of course, the Hoya Obovata. I only recently showed this plant in a video, like just last week, if you're watching this the following week. And this plant is a beast. This plant, I'm really glad to have this plant in my collection, because I almost lost this plant to root mealy bugs. Like, it decimated the plant, and I cut it off, put it in water just to make sure that there's no cross-contamination or anything like that, and then potted it up again, got root mealy bugs again, had to cut it off and then start again. So this is the third time I'm growing this plant, and at the moment it's doing amazing, and it's also blooming like crazy. I think in the last video there were some blooms on this plant, and they've now fallen off, which is what they do. They don't last very long, but look, already we have some more coming in over here. We have a couple of empty peduncles over there. Yeah, this plant is a very, very rapid grower. Look, we have one here that looks like very early stages of developing some blooms. So a really, really interesting plant. I love how different this plant is as well, because it's got those super circular round leaves. Look at that one. That one is almost a circle, right? It might as well be. How cool is that? This plant is in a very, very, very chunky soil mix, and I think it's really enjoying that. It's allowing for amazing airflow, and it also means that the plant doesn't get as hydrophobic. We have already discussed when we spoke about the first plant on this list. This thing just allows the water to nicely go through, and it just flows, and it allows the plant to take in the water that it needs. Sometimes I'll let the water sit in this pot for a little bit and let the plants kind of soak that up, just because it's got so many roots at the bottom there. Just let them soak it up for a little bit, and then when I'm ready, chuck the water out, and a-okay, happy days. The plant is good to go for another week or so. So the Hoya Obovata, I won't spend too much time. Go see my video last week where I'd speak about this plant as being one of my favorites in June. And you can tell why. It's lovely, isn't it? Wow. Are you ready? Are you ready for the #1 plant? The gold winner takes the first place on the podium. It is none other than my Hoya Wilbur Grays. Guys, have a look at that thing. I'm trying to be really careful because it's so top heavy. Look at the silver. This is not even splashing anymore. This is silver on the top here. A gorgeous plant. Just the coloring on this thing is immense. It is insane. And another reason why it's on this list is for the very first time this thing is about to bloom for me. I cannot wait. I'm interested to see I'm interested to smell what it's going to be like. Is it going to be like the crinkle weight that I'm not really a fan of? Or is it going to be a little bit sweeter like the Obovata? I'm hoping it's going to be the latter. We'll see. I'll definitely let you know. I don't think there were any other peduncles on this. Oh no, oh my days, look. There's one other peduncle over here. I was about to say, I don't think there were any other ones. It was just that one. Oh my days, look at that. I'm jinxing myself because there's another one down here. It's a very, very small baby one. But it's coming in. It's coming in to full effect. Oh, there's another one down here. Oh, look at that. I spoke too soon. There's peduncles all over the gaff with this plant. Look at it. Just the color on this alone puts it at first place every single time in my collection. Just absolutely I'm just going to let you take that in for a little minute. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And another tendriller as well. Look at that. This thing is just trying to find a spot anywhere to carry on growing. I will wrap this around the trellis just to make sure that I can contain that growth a little bit. But this trellis is getting a little bit top heavy, a little bit wobbly, so I need to be careful about that. But this plant, I think it's well deserving of the top place because yeah, it's just all that and more. I've never had any issues with this plant. It's growing in 100% semi-hydro mix. I think this is a pond mix actually. And I haven't had any issues. It's got a little reservoir thing. I fill it up, make sure the water sits there. It drinks it up very, very quickly. Within a couple of days, that water is gone because the plant has used it all. And that just works fine for me and for the plant. You can see where the plant has tendrilled and sort of gone off and done its own thing. Because it's not directly under the light, it doesn't have as much silvering as these ones. Because these ones practically touch the light. And you can see where there's a little bit of light damage on some of the leaves as well. So, but you know, that does keep it super splashy, which I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at all. Yeah, I fertilize this plant regularly, weekly, as with all of my other Hoya, and it seems to be doing just fine for now. Well, that was it. That's my entire Hoya collection. You may have noticed that there's some plants that were on my previous videos that aren't on here. I've lost a couple of Hoya. I can't even remember the names of some of them that I've lost. I think I've lost I had a Sarawak, I've lost that. I had a couple of other ones. I can't remember. Honestly, I've lost a few in the last year alone. But these ones are the survivors. And they're doing really well. Really well. I'm really proud of this collection and how far they've come. You can see some of them were on the edge and they've kind of come back now. There are some Hoyas that I've had maybe once or twice and they've died. I don't think I'm going to try again. I'm just going to sort of try to really focus in on the ones that I have here and get them to grow big and beautiful. That's exactly what I want, big and beautiful plants. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen anything you like here. Are there any plants I showed you today you're like, yep, I didn't know it existed, but I want it. I'm going to get it in my collection. Let me know. Let me know if you've got some of these plants and how they're doing. And if you have any care tips for me, please do let me know, because yeah, we're all on the same journey together. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep planting.